Ralph. Now, in a statement sent out prior to their pre-launch activities last week, this new political party described their political position, and let me quote them, as a Marxist-Leninist political party fighting to overthrow the brutal capitalist system. Where do you believe they'll make inroads within the electorate?
Well, I don't think they're going to defeat the capitalist system. The capitalist system has adapted over a period of time. I do think, however, that they do have an opportunity to try to resuscitate those who are left-leaning in South African politics, those who believe in more of state intervention, those who believe more in what you can call traditional leftist policies, where the markets are often being called upon. The question of inequality in South Africa as well can be packaged within that left-leaning type of politics. I do believe that if you look at South Africa's politics now, you look at where does the left sit. The left in South Africa now is sitting with the EFF. The ANC, I would say, is a centrist party, as they always say, and as President Thabo Mbeki has said in the past, that the ANC is not a communist party, it is the ANC. So I believe that those who are more attracted to left policies, those who are attracted to those Marxist, some of the Marxist policies, whatever reformulation that such policies undergo, I do think that those kind of people will be looking in the direction of this party, because the EFF had just almost appropriated leftist politics in this country. But I do think that the EFF has got credibility problems. It's always a question of genuineness of their members.
Exactly, and that's where your latest column comes in. I mean, not so long ago, maybe even a year ago, people would have thought that this new Socialist Revolutionary Workers' Party would maybe have been good bedfellows for the Red Berets, but not after the kinds of stories that the leaders of the EFF have found themselves embroiled in over the last short while.
Exactly. I mean, if you take a step back, you look at what has happened within COSATU. When NUMSA had problems within COSATU, is because NUMSA actually felt that workers' interests were actually not being pursued. The working class interests were not being pursued within COSATU under the ANC leadership alliance and so forth. And speculations were that the EFF could actually build a relationship with the disgruntled NUMSA. But I think that NUMSA's biggest problem has been the credibility of the ANC, of the EFF. Are the EFF leaders genuine about the leftist rhetoric that they always talk about? When you look at some of the recent revelations, you look at the VBS, you also look at some of the allegations that are being put out there in terms of the EFF, their conduct in the city of Johannesburg and so forth. Be them as allegations as they are, they do bring back that suspicion that maybe EFF leaders are not fully committed. And I think that maybe that is why this Workers' Party, NUMSA, saw that opportunity to say that maybe they can start to do that. I mean, the leftist ideals in South Africa in post-apartheid, they were with COSATU. In terms of political parties, AZAPO, your PAC, they haven't done well. EFF came in, credibility problems keeps on coming up. We will see whether this Workers' Party will be able to stand and be able to say to the workers that we genuinely believe in the plight of the workers. We genuinely believe in leftist policies as compared to the EFF, which I think, in my view, there are always concerns there. I mean, you look at the lifestyles, you look as well as where the EFF leaders actually come from. They come from the ANC. There's always been this suspicion that they will find it difficult to discard the attitude that maybe they've been characterized.
And that the history
ANC.
would catch up with them.
Exactly. I mean, you look at things that are coming out, revelations that are coming out now. The EFF has to make a case that they are still genuinely interested, or they are still genuine bearers of the torch when it comes to pursuing left-leaning politics in South Africa. It's a difficult task for them, hence now they have a competitor in this new Workers' Party.
Because where do you find a politician whose reputation or credibility at the moment is not being question marked in some way, shape or form? Where does NUMSA then start there? Because even their leaders have been tainted over the last few years.
Exactly. I mean, it's not going to be an easy sale for this Workers' Party. They'll have to demonstrate how different are they But even most importantly, as you correctly said, it's been my concern that it's about the leadership. Who is going to lead this party? What positions are people going to have? And
who's going to be on their list?
Exactly. Do these individuals, those individuals that are going to lead this party, do they have credibility problems? Are there people who would be found wanting when it comes to credibility, when it comes to their relationship with the markets or capitalism, as it is being said? But let them make their own case. The point, what I'm seeing here is that the EFF did not successfully appropriate leftist politics. They are facing this challenge, and it's going to be an uphill battle for them, given controversies that the party has to respond to recently.
Now, since before they haven't actually officially launched the party, the Socialist Revolutionary Workers' Party, they had their pre-launch events. But even when they started speaking about potentially starting their own political party, they've repeatedly said that they want this to be a grassroots organization. They want to walk, as it were, before they run. Do you think, however, that they might surprise some people in the next, and even themselves maybe, in the next elections, because so many people are perhaps looking for a new political home?
I mean, when you look at South Africa's politics, my view here is that the bar is so low when it comes to entry level. We have had political parties in this country coming in, new political parties getting in the range of 6%.
That's what the EFF did when
the EFF
they arrived.
got that. COPE as well got that in their maiden election when they started. And it shows that actually, South African voters are willing to entertain new ideas or maybe repackaged ideas. So certainly, this new party, they are going to get seats. The question would be, would they really depose other parties such as your EFF, or will they build a relationship with the EFF, or will the EFF, as they're going into the election, as they're going into campaigning, because the EFF as well, the leaders of the EFF are aware of what is happening, how are they going to define themselves in relation to this new political party? One way or another, I do think that voters are going to give this new party a vote. It's a question as to whether the new party will hold on to the support. Will they be honest and true to what they are saying? I mean, they talk a lot around the Marxist jargon and so forth. I do think they need to tone down and try to get their message in a manner that it will get across to the voters very well. Voters
in
are
a more
not
understandable way.
Exactly. Voters are not academics writing essays on Marxism out there. You need to be able to make sure that what you have relate to people, or people can relate to what you are saying as easy, as simple as possible. That is what they will have to do.
Now, there's a tectonic shift in the political plates in South Africa all the time, but even more so as we head closer to the general elections. Now, the ANC has always looked to their alliance partners to give them that tinge of red that has always kept them relevant amongst the workers. After what the SACP and COSATU has gone through over the last few years, the COSATU aligning themselves with President Jacob Zuma at the time, which led to NUMSA leaving, SACP contesting by-elections on their own away from the alliance. Where does it leave specifically the SACP and COSATU in the greater scheme of things?
I mean, there is something not very clear about the SACP now. They keep on saying they're discussing whether or not they need to stand for elections on their own. We know in one of the by-elections, some of the by-elections they've stood on their own, where they actually campaigned in competition to the ANC. It's not very clear now as to where the SACP seems to be standing. Towards the end of President Jacob Zuma's tenure, the SACP, they were very unhappy. They were actually willing to go it alone. The question is whether are they willing to try that now, or are they thinking that maybe the alliance is repositioned in a manner that their concerns as a party will be well taken care of within the alliance or not. And I do think that this new party, this Workers' Party, I think that the final decision to launch a party, it comes out of assessment of what has happened within the SACP itself. You spoke about the grassroots approach. Can the SACP still remain the party that has got a relationship with the grassroots? Or is it an elitist party, as people are saying, which has lost touch with the grassroots? And I think this new party has looked at some of those opportunities that exist within the alliance. And I think that the alliance and COSATU can no longer claim to be a solid representative of the workers' voice. They have to do something to earn it, given the trouble that they've experienced in the last few years under President Jacob Zuma's administration. COSATU has lost membership, and again, most importantly, it has had a problem with just the moral credibility of being a workers' federation. That moral authority has actually been, I would say, threatened in the past few years. So this new party is looking at that opportunity. I think maybe the more the merrier.
And would you say it's fair to say that a gap has been left because so many of our mainstream parties, let's say the top three, as it were, the ANC, the DA and the EFF, have been left floundering, not knowing where to position themselves post the Zuma must fall period that we've come out of? It
has been a very difficult situation, the post-Zuma dispensation. They could not ground their political project on attacking the former president. They have to talk about something else. We've seen what the EFF, the direction that the EFF seems to be taking, a very strange, I would say, twist, where one is not even sure where do they stand, how do they define corruption today as we are speaking. So I do think those shifts have created an opportunity for the new party to try to say maybe the mainstream is not legitimate anymore. But quite ironic is that is actually the message of the EFF. When the EFF came about South African politics, their message was that the mainstream politics, the mainstream political party, the center of South African politics, it's no longer legitimate. Us as the EFF, as they were saying, we are going to do things differently. But it didn't take too much time that I think the EFF itself is risking being seen as part of this mainstream. Now you have a new entry. Are we going to see the same situation where parties speak language that is different when they become part of politics? When they deal with the practicality, they tend to change, and creating a space for new parties to keep on challenging the mainstream. I don't know how far will it go, or we've come a full circle at this point.
I think we're going to leave it there for now. We still have many more months to talk about these issues going forward. We thank you for your time. As always, political analyst Ralph Mateja here in the studio with us.